Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. My name is Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe, and a big good morning, afternoon, or evening to everyone joining me live here on air this morning, including Samuel and Lena, who's ready for day 8. Me too. We've got Cars from Holland, and if you are joining us live, let me know where you're tuning in from. I'm right now in lovely Los Angeles. We've got Antonio, Gus Bots in the house. Saw Kathleen in here as well. Alex and Anna, and Lindsay, Claire, everyone else. Kita, one of our awesome regulars. We got a lot of awesome regulars in here joining us every single day. I love this. Alrighty, so what do we have planned for today? Well, let me hop over to my screen right over here. Boop, there we go. And this is the landing page. If you're brand new to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge, head on over to behance.net/Daily Creative Challenge. We've got places coming in. Stacy from Castro Valley, Nahamja, I apologize if I mispronounced her name, from Serbia. It's 8:30 p.m. over there. Marcy from Chicago, and Kristen also from Los Angeles. Yeah, it's kind of gray out there. It's kind of yucky. It was raining last night, which is very rare. Gary from Ohio, and John, and everyone else. Luca from London. All right. So, Behance landing page, behance.net/Daily Creative Challenge. And I will definitely incorporate some boops into the transitions. That'd be kind of funny. So up here we have a big blue register button, but it's not a register button anymore. Usually it is, but if you press that, you'll now be taken to Discord. You know, the challenge is coming to an end tomorrow, which is sad, but we do have another one coming up in June, and then probably July and August, and we got a lot coming up. So in the meantime, you can hang out with us on Discord, and just if you're brand new to these challenges, never done these before, every single day you're going to receive a challenge, and those are going to unlock at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you can get notified through Discord, or when you do press the register button when it's available again, you'll get a notification through Creative Cloud. Then you're going to join me at 11:30 a.m. every single morning to kick off that day's challenge and to get a little bit of inspiration to see what's possible. And if you've never used Adobe XD before, it's a perfect opportunity to learn something new. Then you're going to share your work using the keyword XD Daily Challenge on Behance. And then if you want to have things reviewed, get them in by tomorrow or also May 27th. That way, you don't miss out on all the challenges. They will switch over to a Photoshop challenge next week, I believe. So definitely get that done. Grab XD for free. Again, join us on Discord. And then down here are all of our challenges. Let me very quickly hop into Discord to show you what that's all about. Here's our Discord channel. We've got about 4,500 people in there, which is crazy. Go ahead, introduce yourself, let us know who you are, what you do for a living. We've got Francisco in there, and Seka and Cars, one of our great helpers. He's been crazy awesome with feedback. If you need feedback or you want to give feedback, you can just hop in there. You can ask questions. A lot of cool stuff in Discord, and it's just a great place to hang out with fellow designers. So, as for the challenges, we started last week with a splash screen for this movies application. Then we went to the login experience. We tackled the home screen, went on to a hamburger menu, so delicious. We did a browse movies experience, a video player, account settings yesterday, and today we're tackling search. And we're gonna have a little bit of fun with some animation today when we're doing this search experience. But before I dive into that, I wanna show you a few challenges that have come in over the last day or so. This one is from Eva, and this was for the search experience. And I thought, if you take a look at this, I thought this was a really interesting, it kind of like the movie, I don't even know how to explain it, but sorry, this was for the account settings experience. Let me show you that one more time. That little movie reel at the bottom, it kind of fanned out to reveal the profile. Then you can go into the settings and then change languages, you can change recommendations and that sort of thing. I thought that was super cool. Really nice touch, and you can kind of see some of the languages changing in the background as she's going through this interaction. Really cool stuff. This one is from Danning, and I have highlighted Danning in the past before, but he's been pumping out some great stuff, and he tackled, I believe this was also the settings experience, the light projector. That's what it's called, Alex. I forgot what it was called. So we've got the more menu down here. We can hop into settings, and we can go to download location, go to internal storage. This is super in-depth and really nice. I love this little pie chart or whatever you might call it at the bottom. Awesome job, Danning. And then finally, we've got Roger, who put together this movie's application. And I really love the way he laid out this page. He's got the challenges at the top, design system, icons and buttons. And if you are putting together a Behance project for all of these challenges, definitely do something like this where you're kind of showing the whole process. If you're looking for work, clients love seeing some of this stuff. High fidelity artboards. And then down here, we've got some cool animations that I love this loading animation at the very beginning. I thought that was a really nice touch. And the search experience, really nice stuff, Roger. And then there's a prototype as well. I definitely encourage you to dive in there, check that out, and give it appreciation. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna hop over to Adobe XD, and we are going to get designing. So just to kind of recap where we're at right now, let me very quickly play where we're at. And this is the login screen or the loading screen with a little animation. It transitions over to the login screen, and then it goes over to this browse movies experience where I can swipe over, got a little parallax effect. And then we also tackled over here, this also browse movie experience where we can click on a movie, it enlarges, click on it again, and it shrinks down. We also went into the video player experience using a component, and then we tackled settings yesterday. Now today we're tackling search, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun with some animation. It's gonna be, it might work, it might not work, we'll see what happens. So I'm gonna start by duplicating this artboard. You know, if you want to, you can just duplicate artboards, save some time, save some space, and I'm just gonna start getting rid of some of this stuff because I probably don't need all of it. Probably don't need most of it actually. And because this is going to be a transition, it's not going to be necessarily auto-animate, at least for now. What I'm going to do is delete this white layer in the background, and I'm just going to set the background of the actual artboard to white. This will just clean up the artboards a little bit so we don't have too many layers going on. And down here, because this is not going to be the settings page, I'm going to change this back to a nice outline, and there we go. All right, so now on this screen, this is kind of going to be the middle transition screen because we're going to have a little bit of fun. Of course, if you don't want to go too crazy, you can probably just have one screen. But I'm going to name this search. And right here at the top, I'm going to get rid of the menu, just for now. And I'm going to get rid of the logo. Boop, there we go. And now the search icon, we have one here, right? But I'm actually going to recreate it. And you're going to see why I'm going to recreate it in a second. But instead of using an ellipse like I did up here, I'm actually going to be using a rectangle. So I'm going to draw out a rectangle, or at least a square. I'm going to pop it, let's say, right about there. And in this case, I'm going to completely round out the corners. So essentially I have a circle, right? Move that over just so I can see. I'm going to set the border to a red. Turn on, I'm going to keep the fill on for now and set the width of the border, the size of the border to 2. Now, next we're going to grab the line tool and simply just draw out a line. I'm actually going to draw one straight down and then rotate it. This is going to be important when we get to animating. About 40 degrees, and I'll set the same beautiful red color just like that. All right, and I'll set the size again to 2. Perfect. All right, now I might want to also round out the caps. So this icon right over here, this one, will round out your caps. Boop, there we go. And I'm gonna place it, that looks pretty good right about there. Now, I'm gonna actually turn this into a component. So I'm gonna hold down, excuse me, Command or Control K, or I can right click on both of these and make component. There we go. And I'm gonna move this into place. Let me get rid of this icon here and pop this right about there. All right, so now that we have the new search icon, I'm gonna make sure to name it search, and in my assets panel, I can also name it search. There we go. All right, so now we're almost ready to go. Right over here, we also want some sort of a back button or back icon. So I'm gonna grab one, I already have one here. So I'm just gonna, simply grab it and paste it over here. Because if you have elements lying around, and I probably could have, made that into a component as well. But if you have elements lying around, you might as well use them. It'll make this a little bit bigger, and I definitely want to flip it around. So I'm going to press this icon right over here to flip horizontally. Boop, there we go. And I'm going to move this into place. Everything's going to line up really nicely. And now we essentially have our transition screen. This is going to be the screen that you see right before all the fancy animations start happening. Now, in terms of those animations, we need to set them up. And if you're brand new to Adobe XD, the way Auto Animate works is it looks at the differences between two artboards and animates the changes. So we're going to duplicate this artboard one more time. And in this case, here's where we're going to get fancy. So we're going to take this component and we're just simply going to, we're going to enlarge it just like that. Or maybe we'll make it a little bit larger as well. Move this element down to the middle, make it nice and large. Move it into place. Move this, make it nice and rounded. And then grab our little line tool, make that back to 0. And we're going to enlarge it just a little bit. This is kind of going to be the indicator where you can start typing. Just like that. Very good. And then we have our search box. And because the component has the same name as the component on the previous screen, this is going to animate really nicely and give us a really cool effect. Now, down under here, we need a few things, because I have some inspiration down here that I grabbed from HBO, Netflix, and also, I believe, YouTube TV. So we might want to incorporate some of these things because maybe someone might want to see recommended categories or movies or whatever it might be. So right under here, I'm going to grab my text tool and type out, let's say, top categories. There we go. I'm going to make all this capital, make it a little bit bigger, and maybe instead of regular, we'll go medium. Medium looks pretty good. Pop it right about there. Let's say about 40 pixels from our little component at the top. Perfect. And now we need some categories. So I'm going to just grab my rectangle and draw out a single category. There's the middle there. I want it a little bit less than the middle, somewhere right about there. Maybe I'll make the inside a nice red color. And maybe I'll round out the corners just a little bit. Just like that. Tiny little, not super round. Or you know what, maybe, I don't know. You know what, we'll start it here and we'll see what happens. We can always change it later. And this will be action. And if you are watching live right now, let me know what categories we should include in this application. I'm gonna make sure to center the text. There we go, that looks good. Medium, maybe we'll go for bold. And a little bit smaller. Perfect, that looks good right about there. So now that we have one of these categories, we need a few more. So I'm gonna grab both of these layers, press repeat grid over to the right, boop, there we go. And then drag out an additional one here, adjust the spacing so it lines up with my guide, just like that, and drag out, let's say, a few more down. Oh, we've got some coming in, perfect. So we've got drama, whoops, select the text, drama. We've got family. I love live broadcasts. Look at all this, this is awesome. Fantasy, and if I don't get to yours, I apologize, I'm kind of just going in order. Adventure and comedy. Perfect. All right, so we've got a few categories now, and of course, if we did want to go back, because it's a repeat grid, if we did want to make them all rounded, we can do that. I don't know, I'm kind of liking the not so rounded at this point. It's kind of working, but let me know in the chat what you think. Do you want super rounded or not super rounded? We'll leave it at that for now. And then maybe right underneath, we might want some recommendations. Recommended, right? Pop that right about there. And maybe for this area, we're gonna have some movies. So I'm just gonna drag out the first movie just like this. Repeat grid. Got 3 more. Perfect. And we'll have, let's say, a few more going down. Excuse me. Have a few more going down. And then if we hop over to Finder, we've got some movies. I just grabbed these from Google. Select a few of these. Perfect, looks good. If I have too many, doesn't matter, it'll just mask it out. Turn off the border. Now, obviously I wanna make sure that this repeat grid, which I'm gonna name movies, is right below the navigation bar. Perfect, all right. So that's looking pretty good, not too bad. Now, of course, in order to actually animate this thing, we need these elements on both artboards, right? So if we, just to kind of show you what would happen, if we go into prototype mode, we're gonna go to this search icon here on this previous screen, and we're gonna simply drag it over to this artboard. And in this case, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be a tap trigger, but it's going to be a simple transition. So instead of auto animate, we're going to do a transition, and we're going to have it slide to the left, and we might want to just ease in. Now, usually I do in and out, so it's slower at the beginning and slower at the end. But in this case, we're immediately going to have a time transition after this transition that goes to the next artboard. Of course, if you don't want to get this fancy, you can just have one artboard, but I'm feeling fancy today. So we're going to do ease in. Now, if I just press this, it does that, right? And of course, you could have all your search results on here, and you could just kind of move on from there. But I want to get a little bit fancy, so I'm going to select this transitional artboard, and I'm going to drag the handle over to this next one. And in this case, I want it to kick off immediately, so it's going to be a time trigger, which I should point out is only available if you have an entire artboard selected. So I'm going to select the time trigger with 0 seconds, and instead of a transition, which will just slide it or just make it appear, I do want it to be auto animated. So I'm going to select auto animate, and in this case, because I had ease in on the previous artboard, I'm going to do ease out on this one, and we'll do a duration of, let's say, 0.4 seconds. So let's see what this looks like. Press that, and you're noticing that search bar at the top got all fancy, and it even though it's a component, it transformed. And just to kind of show you what happened, I'm going to change the duration of this animation to 3 seconds. So you can really start to see what's going on. Ooh, fancy. Now, that line did look a little bit strange, but when it's at like 0.4 or 0.2 seconds, you're really not going to notice it very much, right? But however, you did probably notice, if I turn back this down to 0.4 seconds, you're noticing that those elements like the categories and the recommended movies, they just kind of appeared, right? But what if you wanted them to animate as well? And of course, you need them on both artboards. So back into design mode, I'm going to select my categories. You know what? I'm going to select all of this stuff. So I'm holding down Shift, I'm selecting all of this, and I'm going to paste it on this artboard. And of course, I want to make sure that my movies is below the navigation bar. Now at this point, we need to start changing some of this stuff so that it can actually animate. Otherwise, it's going to look the same, right? So what I'm going to do is, let's say categories, we might want to move up, move that up a little bit. Recommended, move it up. And then for these, maybe we'll just, increase the repeat grid, move this over a touch, just so they kind of all fly in together. And then maybe do the same thing for movies. Or just move that over just like that. Now, of course, we don't want it to look like this on the first artboard, so I'm going to select all these elements one more time and turn down the opacity to 0. Alrighty, so here we go. Let's see if this works. So on this screen, I'm going to press play. Let me move this stuff out of the way. And I'm going to press the search bar or button, and everything kind of moves into place. Now, maybe it's a little bit too fast, so if I hop into prototype mode, I'm dying over here. 0.6 seconds, and let's try this one more time. That looks pretty good. And you're noticing, because we have ease in on the first transition and ease out on the second transition, everything kind of just flows really nicely. Let me play that one more time, because it looked pretty good. Ooh, there we go. So, the search icon at the top transformed into an actual search field. The categories kind of came into play. Recommended came into play as well. And if I do go ahead and decrease or increase the duration again, let's say to 2 seconds, you can really start to see, oops, wrong one. This one, I want to increase this to 2 seconds. You'll be able to see exactly what's going on in this animation. So everything kind of flies in, looks kind of cool. And when it is at like 0.4, 0.6 seconds, some of those weird nuances you probably won't be able to see because it's nice and quick and it just happens. Awesome. Now, what we can do is, because we have this kind of intermediate state, we can also wire this up from many, many different artboards. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select this search icon right here. I want to make sure I'm in prototype mode. So I'm going to select this search icon, and I'm going to actually delete the search icon on all these other ones because they were not components. So now I changed them all to components. I probably should have done that from the beginning, but you know what? It happens. So I'm going to select these artboards here and simply paste. And that'll paste not only the search icon, but it'll also paste the interactions because I'm in prototype mode. Yeah, please get me some water. So I'm also going to do it on all these artboards, select them all, and paste. And there we go. So now, no matter which artboard I'm on, if I'm on this artboard, I can still be taken to that search experience. So if let's say I'm on this artboard here, I've got my browse experience, search, and there we go. Now we're in the search experience. Now, we can also add a keyboard. If you are brand new to Adobe XD, if you head up to the File menu, down to Get UI Kits, you can grab UI Kits for Apple iOS, Google Material, Windows, whatever it might be. And if I hop over to this document here, this is the Apple iOS kit, which is for the iPhone 10, which is what I'm designing for right now. They have a lot of different things in here, from titles to, you know, the lovely little notch that we're all familiar with. But they also have a keyboard. So I'm just going to dive in here, grab this keyboard, copy it, and hop over here and paste it. Just like that. Now, I could just leave it here, right? So I could have it on this artboard. I can also put it maybe on this artboard down here, move it down to the bottom, turn the opacity down to 0, and this will allow me to kind of have the keyboard slide up. But we can also use this keyboard as an overlay. So if you're brand new to XD, let me show you how that works. Let me undo this, delete this keyboard. I'm gonna paste it on my pasteboard, but I can also drag out, let's say, an artboard. So I'll have this right here, make this artboard nice and small, just like this. Wonderful. And then from this artboard, what I can do, this one over here, I can have a time trigger that will show that overlay. So if I just go ahead and, just like I did before, I selected the entire artboard, drag the handle over to this lovely little overlay. This will be a time trigger of 0 seconds, and we'll do, let's say, we'll do an overlay, and we'll have it slide up. And when I do select slide up, it automatically puts that down to the bottom. And of course, if I needed to, I can always jump in there and move the overlay anywhere I want, but it looks pretty good right there. And we'll do, let's go for a snap at 0.4 seconds. So now what'll happen, again, no matter which artboard I'm on, I can click on the search icon, I'm taken there, and the keyboard slides up. I can click on it and slide it back down. And of course, I have this as a time trigger, so it's always gonna be there, but that's okay. That's fine, we can leave it there. We can also set up scrolling, right? So we have all these movies down here. Let's say we have additional movies. Let's just drag out a bunch of movies, just like this. And if you want to set up scrolling so you can actually scroll on this artboard, if you select the entire artboard, you can just drag the handle down to fill up all the content. I'm also going to make sure that I leave a little bit of room for the navigation bar at the bottom, just right about there. Now, of course, when I do this, if I start scrolling, let me disconnect my overlay, just like that. Boop. And if I start scrolling, you're noticing the navigation bar also moves with the other artboard, which we definitely don't want. So in that case, I'm gonna go in here, select the navigation bar and select the icon, so I can hold down my shift key and select both of them, and then turn on fixed position when scrolling. Turn that on, and now when I press play, I can scroll down my artboard and the navigation bar stays in place. So let's take a look at all of this one more time from the beginning. Actually, let's make sure we hook everything up, because some of these are not hooked up, right? So we might want, let's say, How to Train Your Dragon right over here. This one might go to this artboard, and it's going to be tap. We're gonna do a transition. We'll have it slide to the left, in and out. There we go, duration 0.4 seconds. All right, so here we go. Splash screen, start, there's the loading animation. Login experience transitions to the home screen. We can swipe, press How to Train Your Dragon, there we go. We can go to the search experience, it's taken here. And then maybe, you know what? Maybe if we can hook up this one from the search experience over to this artboard over here that we created a few days ago. And this could be a tap transition. Maybe this will actually slide to the right instead of slide left. And one more time, let's play this from the beginning. There we go. I love that little loading experience. Login screen, slides over, swipe, How to Train Your Dragon. All right, I want to search for something else. Oh, you know what? Recommended, it's recommending Captain Marvel. I can do that. And there we go. Captain Marvel. You can see some more movies. So that will just about do it for today. I'll polish this up, upload it to the Dropbox link, which you can find in this template right here. It'll be here later today. And stick around in just a few minutes. Terry White is coming up with some awesome, the Photography Daily Creative Challenge. You can learn a lot of cool stuff about Photoshop in there. So stick around, and I'll be back tomorrow morning to wrap up this month's XD Daily Creative Challenge. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all next time.